What does it take to become a hero so fearless, so unbreakable, that you'd be immortalized in not one but two of history's greatest films? Charles Herbert Lightoller was that kind of man, a real-life hero whose courage led him to survive the sinking of the Titanic and then return to face the horrors of war on the beaches of Dunkirk. His life was more legendary than the movies. On the Titanic, he was second in command, standing by the captain as the iceberg struck. On the shores of Dunkirk, he took the helm of a small boat, dodging bombs to rescue trapped soldiers. In both disasters, Charles stood firm against chaos, proving that a single person's resolve can be the difference between life and death. When the Titanic struck the iceberg, Second Officer Charles Lightoller knew every second counted. With the ship flooding, his focus turned to saving as many lives as possible. Refusing to abandon the ship, he fought tirelessly to maintain order, enforcing the principle of women and children first, even in the face of chaos and fear. While many scrambled for lifeboats, Charles stood resolute, risking his life as he loaded lifeboats and held the panicked crowd at bay. But when the last lifeboat was filled, Charles made an astonishing choice. He didn't force his way onto safety. Instead, he stayed behind, giving up his own chance at life to ensure others had a chance to survive. As the Titanic slipped beneath the waves, Charles plunged into the icy Atlantic, his body numbing instantly in the frigid waters. Yet even here, he refused to give up. In the chaos, Charles found an overturned lifeboat bobbing among the wreckage. Struggling against the freezing cold, he climbed onto the hull, joining a group of survivors already clinging to the slippery, unsteady surface. The lifeboat was meant for none, yet it carried over 30 desperate souls that night. In that perilous moment, as waves crashed against them, Charles took control. He calmed the group and instructed them to form two lines on either side of the upturned boat. He knew that any panic or sudden movement could capsize it, sending them all back into the deadly waters. With remarkable poise, he led them in a slow rhythm, swaying with the waves, balancing the boat through the long, brutal night. Throughout those endless hours, Charles's resolve was the only thing keeping the survivors steady and alive. As hypothermia set in and hope began to wane, he remained their unshakable guide, pushing them to endure. And just as dawn broke, they saw a miracle on the horizon. A rescue boat had arrived. Charles's actions had kept over 30 men alive on that upturned boat, preventing panic from claiming even more lives. For many, the Titanic disaster would mark an ending, but for Charles Lightoller, it was just the beginning. His unyielding resolve in the face of death, his refusal to abandon those in need, had saved lives on that dark night. And though few would have the strength to ever set foot on a ship again, Charles would soon be called back to the seas, carrying that same courage into the face of even greater dangers. Years later, Lightoller returned to the sea during the First World War, serving as captain of the destroyer HMS Gary. His mission: escort a fleet of merchant ships safely through hostile waters. As they crossed the channel, a German submarine, UB-110, silently stalked them beneath the surface, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But Lightoller was prepared, spotting a glint from the periscope as it broke the waves. He knew immediately that he had to act fast. With few tools to fight a hidden enemy, Lightoller's only option was to go on the offensive. He ordered a depth charge dropped directly over the submarine, forcing it to the surface. But even then, UB-110 could escape in the chaos. For Lightoller, hesitation wasn't an option. He made the risky, unthinkable decision to ram the submarine head-on. He knew that only by crushing it completely could he keep the fleet safe. His command was simple: full speed ahead. With a brutal, calculated strike, the Gary collided with the submarine, ripping into its hull and sending it spiraling to the bottom. Lightoller's unflinching resolve had saved countless lives. If the submarine had lived to attack, torpedoes could have taken down entire ships, costing hundreds of lives. The Gary itself barely survived, flooding from the impact, but Lightoller's quick thinking and fearless leadership had triumphed. His courage that day earned him the Cross of Honor and proved once again that when lives were on the line, Charles Lightoller would do whatever it took to protect them. By World War II, Lightoller was 66, officially retired. But when the call came to rescue soldiers trapped on the beaches of Dunkirk, he didn't hesitate. Commandeering his yacht, Sundowner, Charles prepared to cross the English Channel himself. The soldiers who came to requisition his beloved boat tried to dissuade him. He was too old, they said. But Charles wouldn't hear of it. If anyone's taking her to Dunkirk, it's me. The Sundowner was built for just 13 people, but Lightoller packed in over 130 British soldiers, taking every inch of space he could find, even the bathtub. Dodging bombs and bullets, He kept calm, using the skills his son had taught him to evade German air attacks. Charles didn't turn back until every last spot on board was filled. Charles Lightoller faced disaster and war without ever looking back. He saw 1,500 souls perish on the Titanic, watched 2 of his sons go off to war, and yet he never let fear keep him from his duty. As Romain Rolland once wrote, "There is only one kind of heroism, that is, after realizing the truth of life, still loving it." This is Charles Lightoller, the real man whose courage inspired 2 world-class films and countless lives. And his true story is even more incredible than what the screen could capture. As we reflect on Charles Lightoller's incredible journey, we are reminded of the divine presence that guides us through our darkest moments. His bravery and selflessness are not just the actions of a hero, but a testament to the grace that can be found in each of us when we face adversity. In times of struggle, it's essential to remember that we can all tap into our inner strength and compassion, just as Lightoller did. Whether we are facing personal challenges or witnessing the struggles of others, we have the power to be a light in the darkness, to extend a hand when it's needed most. Join us at Angel Grace Blessing as we explore more stories of inspiration and grace, encouraging each other to embody the hero within. If you found this story uplifting, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that inspires hope and kindness in our world. Together, let's illuminate the path to a brighter future. Embrace your inner light. You never know how many lives you might touch. Thank you for watching, and may you always be blessed with angelic grace.